Hi everyone, happy Monday. So today I wanted to talk about superannuation death benefits. Last week I spoke about some of the types and varieties and features of super funds, but the death benefits on a super fund are, funnily enough, one of my favourite topics, and I do bang on about it a fair bit, particularly when people come in for estate planning with me, because majority of the time when people do wills at home or they go to a solicitor that's not a specialist, super is not considered as part of the will preparation process. So that's why estate planning is wider than just getting a will done. The death benefits of a lot of people's super funds are often one of their biggest assets. And so if you do an at-home will or you go to a solicitor who's not a specialist and they don't consider super as part of the whole plan, then that's one of your biggest assets that's just forgotten about and, hopefully it'll be okay, which usually is not how it turns out if the super is not considered as part of the estate plan. So, what is the death benefit? The death benefit is often on an accumulation fund. It is what you have saved into your super account plus any life insurance on your super fund. So that is the death benefit, and it can be paid as a lump sum to a small category of people. Those are spouse, children, or financial dependent people, or it can be paid into your estate. Or you can pay the death benefit as a pension to a spouse or a child under the age of 18, but then that pension finishes once the child reaches or is no longer dependent. So, easier to think of it as a lump sum that comes out, and your will does not cover your super fund. So, if you had a death benefit of $300,000, which is the majority of people with a industry fund, most industry funds start with a life insurance policy of between $200,000 and $250,000. So it's pretty easy for someone to have $300,000 as a death benefit for super, which is why it is one of the biggest assets. And if it hasn't been considered as part of the estate planning process, then it's up to the super fund as to where they decide to pay that money. It's not that it won't be paid, it will be paid out, but the problem is it takes a lot longer if it's not done right, well over 6 months to have paid out. And also the process involves all sorts of people making an actual application to the super fund for a benefit. So we don't want it left up to the superannuation fund's determination. You want to actually have control of that. And quite often we can use superannuation as quite an interesting tool as part of the estate planning process. There's tax potentially that needs to be considered on the super, and how do we avoid that? How do we pay it to the best people? Or if you've got a blended family, quite often the super death benefit is a really good tool to use to make sure that you look after everyone's interests. So that is why I get so passionate about the superannuation death benefit. And unfortunately, the super funds aren't following some of the recommendations about law reform because they still require 2 signatures on a binding nomination to a super fund, and most industry funds, those nominations expire every 3 years. So if you're not regularly doing your nomination, it ends up being a lapsed nomination and it is just an indication, and the super fund doesn't have to follow it. So that's not a great situation either. So that is why proper estate planning is really important. And this is also why I say it's important for someone, a young person, for example, to actually do a will. Because young people, once they start working, like I say, if they have an industry fund, they'll have a death benefit of $200,000 plus. And if they haven't done a will, they usually don't have someone who can pay the super to. So remember, the only people you can pay super to directly are spouses, children, and financially dependent people. And young people don't have any of those yet. They can't nominate their sister or brother on the super fund. They cannot nominate their parents. It is an invalid nomination. So that is why young people need a will, so that the super is paid into the estate and we actually do a nomination to that effect, and then the will does actually cover the super. Some of the other things that can happen if a nomination is not done correctly is that for children, for example, we often don't want children to get inheritances at 18. It's far too young. However, so in the will, what we do is set up a clause to say, well, they have their inheritance once they get to 25 or older. But if the super is not pulled in and gets included in that, the super will be paid separately and paid directly at 18. That's not a good solution either. And so that, again, is why considering the superannuation death benefit at the time of doing a will, proper estate planning process is really important. We don't want to miss one of those biggest assets. So there you go. Like I said, it's one of the most passionate subjects for me, and I can bang on about it all day, but I won't. So next Monday is a public holiday, for those who may have forgotten, so I won't be coming to you live next Monday. So the following Monday, I'll be back again. All these videos get posted onto the page, so you can go to the videos tab on our Facebook page and scroll back through all the topics. Any that are relevant for anyone that you know, please share it with them privately or tag their name in it. But they're all there as an archive of all these little snippets of legal information. Otherwise, I hope you have a really great week. Enjoy this rain, and hopefully it warms up a little bit before the long weekend. See you next time.